Okay, cold open news. I had a Holthead reach out. She's been to Auntie Mame's pad. AKA Millionaires Row, Irene Silverman. What do you think about that?
What did she say?
She said Irene was a total bitch. Just kidding. She didn't know Irene. This was after. It's like an art gallery. And I said, well, what's your proof then? And she said, it's on Millionaires Row. And the big claim to fame was that Lenny Kravitz lived there. Which I thought was pretty damn funny that that's the one they went with.
That's sort of a bummer. All of that, and it's distilled down to just Lenny Kravitz.
Yeah. I mean, it's a murder house. Put that on the wall.
Yeah.
Oh, and she said in one of her rooms, on the side of the bed, carved in the wood was Santee plus Kenny. I don't know if that helps solidify anything or...
Kurt, you're always goofing.
Always goofing.
I'm Lester Holt.
Howdy, Holtheads. Kurt Money here, alongside my co-host,
Kateline.
And we are here to talk about another brand new Dateline. 'Twas a fatty, but I think could have been a shorty in a heartbeat.
Absolutely.
Let me read the IMDb, and then we'll get your thoughts, Kate, and we'll hop right in. Here we go. Tech titan Bob Lee is stabbed to death in San Francisco. A complex investigation and conflicting accounts of what took place the night of the murder lead everyone to wonder what had really happened under the Bay Bridge. Aired February 7th of 2025 and hosted by our very own JMANK. Kateline, give me your overalls.
Again, yeah, this could have been a shorty. It seemed pretty open and shut. I actually had a bone to pick with JMANK.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Really?
Mm-hmm. He, especially in the beginning, he was setting it up, going on and on about how special this murder was. About how this wasn't just no ordinary victim. And I'm thinking, now what is an ordinary victim?
Yeah. I say this whole episode is guilty of that.
Yes. They were making this guy out to be so special, and it really felt disrespectful to everybody that's been murdered, ever.
This was no ordinary crime, nor ordinary circumstances. And that man on the ground was no ordinary victim.
There's one term that was said, let's save it till we get there because I don't want to get so heated up top, but there was a word said, Kate, that I texted you. I literally went, ew, at the TV, like that loud. Mrs. C reacted just like that. I would say, other than the fact that this guy made Cash App, this is ordinary across the board. I mean, the reason why the murder happened, where it happened, when it happened.
Yes.
What's not ordinary?
This is what murders are.
Yeah. Yeah, and JMANK was definitely guilty of it, but he definitely earned some points with you coming up, though. You weren't mad at JMANK the whole time, am I right?
No. I mean, we love him.
I love you.
Now, you said that Gillionaire was bummed they covered this because it was in the news. I don't remember this in the news. Do you?
Yes. This was just 2023. I remember it vividly.
Yeah. Legit, everything in here was new to me. It didn't ring a single bell. But okay, our story begins 2:30 a.m., April 4th, 2023 in San Francisco. We are hearing a 911 call, and it's somebody who's been attacked or something, because he keeps repeating, help, help. 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 And so the cops, they go to where the call came from, and they retrace the steps, and it's actually kind of easy to do because there's like blood smeared on the building wall. There are blood droplets, and we see countless security cams of this guy bloody trying to get help.
Stumbling around, falling over. And some points he actually looks like he might be okay. And he starts walking kind of normal, and then he just falls again.
Yeah.
It's really scary.
Yeah, his hands are hella bloody, too. There's a lot of stuff to see in these security cams. Like, there's a ton of different angles and stuff.
And then JMANK and one of the detectives, they walk his route, which I thought was hilarious. The detective was pointing to the ground, like, these are where the blood droplets led us to this intersection.
Yeah.
And he's trying to show JMANK stuff, and he's not paying attention to him. Did you catch that? The guy's like, over here, we would have some blood smear, and JMANK's just walking. Not even looking.
Well, I think it may have been the 2-foot difference between them. I don't know, JMANK's Murph Dog short, or is this guy just hella tall? But there was a big diff, right?
Wait, is Murph Dog short?
Oh, come on, I've sent you pics where he looks short as hell. He's just a little man. He's a little man.
Yeah, I didn't know that JMANK was that short, but compared to this
Me
guy,
neither.
Maybe everybody's short compared to this guy.
No, this guy kind of bugged me. He was a little too chillax. His overall vibe was chillax.
I don't think so.
And I've said this before, Kate, this guy had DreamWorks face. Are you familiar?
No. Explain.
You're not. And I knew it. Guess what? I made a goddamn side-by-side for you, and it's coming your way. What I just texted you is DreamWorks face with the guy face on it. It's the one eye up. Hey, I'm Detective Dittmer. Hey.
Oh, okay.
Give it to me, Kate. I nailed it.
So that's a known thing.
Well, yeah, it's a known trope of animated movie posters. The one eyebrow up, because it's like, this guy's a rascal. Huh. What's he getting up to for an hour and a half? Let's find out.
Okay, all right.
But please give it to me that he's doing it, right?
Doing what?
The DreamWorks face.
Yeah.
I give you 6 examples.
Yeah,
he's
doing it.
Sweet.
About a 9 on the tension scale, Rube.
There's another hilarious part later when we're looking at security footage where he's in a suit most of the time, but he's got his bulletproof vest on when he's on the laptop. Did you notice that he's fully kitted out with his gear, just looking at security footage?
Looking at your computer can be really dangerous.
That's true, man. Oh, so true.
You know, the chillax vibe, that's just got to be a California thing, right?
Okay. I could see that. Specifically SF or just California in general?
Maybe SF. I don't know.
He was talking about like hard times as a detective, and I was like, your body language ain't selling it, dude. You seem like you are comf right now.
They do have a lot of violence up there.
Yeah, including this stabbing, which Dittmer gets a call. Uh-oh. This victim is named Bob Lee.
You ever heard of Bob Lee before?
No.
And then we hear from Krista Lee, Bob Lee's ex-wife, and we get her scoop. Her thing is like she woke up to 3 missed calls from a number she didn't recognize. Googles it, finds out it's the hospital in like downtown San Francisco. And she calls them and they're like, oh, it's probably about like a missed appointment or something. Don't worry about it, which seemed like a wild thing for somebody over at the hospital to tell somebody who called in. What do you think? Okay.
I think it's weird that no one left a message.
Also weird. Good point. So then she's taking her 2 kids to school and she has one of her kids track Bob's phone, and it turns out it's in a police station. So now they're like, well, now we got to know what's going on. So it's at that point where she goes down to the police station and says, do you have my ex-husband's phone? And they're like, are you his wife? Because he's at the hospital. This is how she found out that he was dead. Yeah?
Yeah, she went to the hospital and they brought her and her boyfriend into a private room, which she knew was a red flag.
Yeah.
And they came out and said there was nothing else they could do. They couldn't save him. Now, she's his ex-wife. That still counts as like being allowed into the hospital and stuff and getting information about him.
Interesting. Well, she did say I'm his former wife. She did make that clarification. I don't know if that helps, but maybe she just like rolled with it and didn't really specify. Maybe because they have kids together. I mean, that's a great question. If they're divorced, then you're not kin anymore, technically.
Yeah.
Good point.
Maybe it's because Bob didn't actually live there anymore. He didn't have anybody else in the city that he was related to. She was the closest thing to him besides the kids who were at school. I don't know. It was kind of weird. But then again, I've never had to deal with next of kin and who's allowed in and stuff like that.
And now begins the hour and a half spent telling us who Bob Lee is. Why don't you go ahead and tell us? Look, he's a dead guy, and by all accounts, he seemed like a good dude. But they really made him out to be like Gandhi or something in this episode. So give me a rundown, Kate. What's so great about Bob Lee?
Bob Lee was a father of 2, divorced. He was a tech guy, kind of a tech genius, maybe. I know that we give Dateline a hard time for talking about people being geniuses and really handsome when they are neither.
Yeah.
Bob Lee was pretty handsome.
And we talked to Bob Lee's brother. Now let's be nice here, Kate. Unless you thought he was gorgeous. What'd you think of this brother?
Well, my immediate thought is, are they actually brothers? Because they did not look anything alike. And this other brother, he looks exactly like their father.
Just like him.
So
just like him.
Bob must look exactly like their mom.
Yeah.
But then you see pictures of them as kids, and you can kind of see the resemblance here and there. But yeah, if you put them next to each other, I wouldn't even think they were related at all.
And he had a good attitude, because they're only 18 months apart. Bob is just more down the line handsome and more successful. And I just wonder if that was tough for this brother. But he seemed pretty cool. He seemed like a cool guy about it.
He seemed fine. I don't know, because, again, we're only hearing about the wonderful qualities that Bob had. You know, he was, aside from being this great figure in the tech world. He was also a very doting dad. His kids were interviewed and they said that he had such a quiet parenting style and he was really gentle and friendly and easygoing.
He was in town to see one of his kids perform in a play, because here's what's weird. He lived in Miami, or he had moved to Miami, and was in town just for this play, too, which sucks.
Yeah. Imagine the guilt that daughter must feel, that if it weren't for her play.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I hope she doesn't think that. I also hope she doesn't listen to this and go, oh, wait, you're right.
That's the first thing I thought of, because that's always my biggest fear, that someone's going to be killed or injured doing something for me or because of me.
Gotcha. Okay.
Bob had come to San Francisco to see Scout perform in a school play. It's difficult for her to talk about.
Because that was the last time I ever saw him.
Okay, so we're with Bob growing up. He's a great kid. He's like the IT guy for his school. He's making programs for his buddies. He solves this, some sort of virus called Code Red. He solves it, but gives it away for free open source style. Doesn't take the money.
But instead of monetizing it, he just made it open source code and basically gave it to the world for free.
He gave it out. That's pretty cool of him. But that pales in comparison to the coolest thing he's ever done in his life. And I'm going to hand it off to Kate to talk about when he met Krista and their lovely union.
Yeah. So he and Krista, they met. I actually don't remember where they met.
Me neither. I just know where they made it official.
Yeah. Well, they dated for a while, and when they decided to get married, they did it in, I think, I have talked about this on the pod before, as what I would have wanted my wedding to be.
You would party with a theme wedding, though, right?
I always said that I wanted a Star Trek themed wedding, and I wanted it in Vegas, and I wanted an Elvis impersonator dressed in a Star Trek uniform to marry me.
Okay.
It would have been perfect back in the day when the Star Trek experience was still up and running in Vegas.
And where'd these two get married, Kate? But not the exact place you're talking about.
They had my dream wedding, which I've never seen depicted on television before.
A Star Trek themed wedding followed in Vegas.
Wild. I mean, I was blown away. You had to be gasping left and right.
I did. I gasped.
Yeah.
And I think they even had a Klingon marry them.
There was a Klingon in attendance, and now here, we got to talk about this. JMANK watches track, I feel. He made a little honeymoon jab that I didn't get, that I was hoping you can weigh in on.
Yeah. Well, he might be into original series.
He seems like a TOS guy.
His knowledge of it might not be beyond that. But we'll give it to him.
What does he say, though? He says honeymoon on Region 7 or something?
Rigel 7.
Honeymoon on Rigel 7?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. Klingons only.
Is that a... Now, I know some honeymoon planets, because as you know, I'm watching TNG. Okay? Picard just took a vacay there. Didn't turn out to be a vacation. He had to save the day.
I advise you to listen closely, for I will not say this again. I came to Risa for a holiday, nothing more.
Yeah.
But
that's Risa.
Yep. That's the spot.
Risa is the pleasure planet. That is the spot.
The pleasure planet.
That's where I would honeymoon for sure. But Rigel 7, that's original series stuff.
Is it? Okay. I like that he busted it out, though. He had it on the tongue. Are you not impressed? Because you're not into TOS. We know this as Holtheads. Are you cool? Are you happy that JMANK knows the stuff? Or are you kind of like...
It's not that I'm not into TOS. It's just that I don't like when people are only into TOS and they choose to ignore all the great stuff that comes later. We don't know if that's what's going on with JMANK.
Yeah. But we see them with the Klingon.
I was very jealous. I have a soft spot for Bob and Krista just because of this. Like, immediately I'm like, yeah, I love their love.
Yeah, true. Now, in your scenario, you guys are in Starfleet get-ups.
Yes.
Not this groom and bride business.
No,
you're in Starfleet something.
We're in formal dress uniforms.
They didn't quite go that far, but anyway, looked like a great party. Kate, you would have loved to be there. You'd have been tearing it up with the Klingons or something. Who knows? Okay, now we're going to keep talking about how great Bob Lee is. I'm going to present 2 facts that make me question if he was cool. Okay? 1, there's a picture of him with sunglasses on a cell phone. Has anybody ever taken a picture of you doing that? I feel like anytime I see that picture, next picture is going to be them taking pictures of stacks of money or something. What do you think?
That did not occur to me.
But is there a picture of you with sunglasses on the cell phone, like mid-business? Do you have any photos of you like that?
I do.
You do? Oh! Okay, well then here's my next question. Do you have any photos of you posing arms out, crucified style, in front of Wings on the Wall mural? Because that was another red flag for me. I was like, this guy.
No.
You know what I'm talking about?
I do. I
don't
don't
have
have
any of those?
anything like that.
And then now this is where I think that some of the descriptions of the episode I read were about how the cops let the public believe something. And what the public believed was that it was a homeless guy or a convict on the loose or something, right? Like people are like, the city politics.
Yeah, that fueled the fire for a lot of political debate about how San Francisco was unsafe and the crime was up and people were fleeing post-COVID. It's actually not true. I've read that a lot of companies are actually coming back to San Francisco, that there aren't these large vacancies that people claimed because it's a great city and people want to live there.
But the cops knew otherwise, and that's because they were getting hints left and right, including an anonymous text that Krista got to her number saying, hey, check out the footage at Millennium Hotel. But I can't tell you, I don't want to get stabbed either, so I'm going to be anonymous when I do this.
Mm-hmm.
Please tell them to check the footage of the Millennium Tower. I'd like to remain anonymous. I fear that I will be stabbed too.
And so the cops do, and boy, did they hit the jackpot, because old Bob is all over those cams.
Right away, they saw something interesting from a camera outside the building.
Now, the Millennium Hotel's history is, I can't believe I've never heard of this. Are you familiar with the Millennium Tower or whatever?
I am, yes.
That it's like tilting and people still live in it and stuff?
It's sinking. People still live in it because they paid a fortune for their condos in there. There are several buildings, actually, that are sinking.
Okay, well, this one, JMANK's like, Joe Montana lived in it, number one. Number two, it's sinking and tilting. Now, are people suing because they won't be able to sell it? Because people will be like, I'm not buying this, it's tilting.
Yeah.
Okay. I loved what they did to show it, too. It was like a window cleaner that was not level with the windows. I don't know if that was like the true perspective, but it helped sell the point.
It's not. You can't actually see the tilt.
Well, they sold it with that B-roll. Is that another BYC? No, I'm not going to give it to him. I'm not going to give it to him, Kate.
No.
Okay, building is tilting. We see Bob going in and out, and at the end of the night, Dittmer sees him get into a car with another guy into a white BMW. Now, this is when I ring, get Carcade on the horn, because this car played a big deal in this app. Tell us about this white BMW.
This was a relatively new, maybe brand new BMW convertible. It's a nice car. It's expensive. I don't love it,
Yeah.
but it's definitely significant enough that if you see it on multiple security cams, you're going to recognize it.
Yeah, that's true. And it helped because it stands out because it's a little white blob on the security cam. So it's kind of easy to piece together because sometimes it's great in focus on the cam. Sometimes it's just a little blob. But the cops find out that this belongs to one Nima Momeni.
We run the plate and the BMW is registered to Nima Momeni.
Now, Nima has no connection to Bob, but Bob is very much connected to Nima's sister, Kazar.
Yes.
And now this is another rewind moment where we find out the Momeni background.
They came to San Francisco when they were 13 and 14.
Yep.
They came over from, where was it?
Iran?
Came over from Iran, depending on how you want to say it. And they were very, very close. Best friends.
Yes, super close. Yeah, and they were hardworking. We talked to the mom. We talked to the mom a lot. She said Kazar was working at 13.
Mm-hmm.
And this is when the episode reaches another level of eye rolls because we talk about how much she wore her money and stuff.
Yes.
And how she liked to play chess standing up with her husband on the other floor. Like, this was all just like,
So she was married to a prominent doctor in San Francisco, and they had a spread in a local magazine about, I guess, how fancy they were.
Yeah.
And one of the photos shows them standing up, playing chess, as they do. We learned that
in like the corner.
the two of them, they're married, but they live in separate apartments, both in the Millennium Tower, which is, I've said it before on the pod, like, I think that's great.
You think this still fits under great for you?
Yeah. Your own place.
I mean, look, it worked for them.
It worked for them. And
But, okay, if we could speak out of line and out of turn, what was the arrangement here, you think? This wasn't a happy marriage, right? I feel like it was like we're getting stuff out of each other. No? He has someone to pose for those pictures playing chess.
he had
She gets to live in the Millennium Hotel.
basically,
Okay.
she had a very lavish lifestyle paid for by her husband, and he had a very beautiful wife that he could bring to events and things, and she was a party girl. She was really fun. People really liked her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It seems like it was a good
setup.
arrangement for both of them.
I mean, even her mom called it open-minded.
I think they were open-minded in some ways.
Look, it did sound like they were getting what they wanted and stuff, so that's all good. But I was cracking up that they lived on different floors even. Do you think they lived directly below and above? Maybe I'm just like an insanely jealous, self-conscious asshole. But I would not want to live above or below my wife and hear other people tromping around in the bedroom. What do you think?
Well, we don't know if it was directly above or below.
Okay.
Could have been
you're
on
right.
the other side of the building.
Oh, if only. If only.
Well, I don't care for having anybody above me.
Oh, yeah. It does suck, right?
Why are they always dropping money? Why are upstairs neighbors always dropping money and then the coins just spin around on the floor like a dreidel?
Are you serious?
That's not been your experience?
No, whenever I've heard it, it feels like they're always moving furniture.
Yes.
Or wearing boots. I've never heard coins, though, but that's pretty specific. I love it. Okay, so we need to talk to Kazar, and we're finding out other stuff, including, this is when we talk about, okay, so Dittmer, in his bulletproof vest, and his get-up, and his badge, and his gun, and everything, finds out that Bob was partying with some friends in town, one including, he had his friend named Bo, who was a tech entrepreneur / DJ. Did you hear this and crack up, Kate? I mean, that's a classic.
Aren't they all?
Yeah. Tech entrepreneur, I'm already like, okay, what's that mean? He's never sold anything or whatever. And then to throw on DJ, it's like, yup.
Classic.
Bob's friend Bo Moazabi is a tech entrepreneur and DJ.
Bo and Bob were good friends. And, okay, let's talk about this too. Bob partied with drugs. I'm here nor there. I say go for it, Bob. But I did like JMANK going, because they were naming drugs. Oh, no, they were talking about whippets specifically. And JMANK goes, to the uninitiated, that being me, what are whippets?
That was cute.
That's good.
To the uninitiated, that being me, what's a whippet?
Yeah. But he partied with, they said alphabet stuff. They said E and X and all the stuff. And whippets are so lame. I did this with computer cleaner in high school once. It makes your voice deep and it only lasts for a few seconds. It's dumb as hell. Why they're doing it when they have like money and could just party with the real stuff, I do not know. Have you ever experienced whippets, Kate?
Is that the same as poppers?
No. Poppers, no. Let's just say no.
Well, I think that answers your question.
Okay, I think it does. But I liked that Bob's wife and everybody was okay with it. Like, they were not tisk-tisking him. Were you tisk-tisking him for the drug use? What are you thinking?
Not at the beginning. His family and his friends, they all said that he was a responsible drug user, that they never saw him super high or coked out of his mind or anything. And if he was around the kids, he wasn't using. It was just for partying.
Yeah.
And that was very separate. But then we kind of hear slightly different versions where Bob wouldn't sleep. He would work all day and party all night and work again and party again and just be doing more and more drugs. That stressed me out. It sounded very unstable.
They didn't specifically say, his friend said they worked 100-hour weeks and stuff, but they never said that he didn't sleep and stuff.
Well,
I don't think.
The math on that is that you literally can't if you're going to do 100 hours.
Okay.
There's no time to sleep in those 100 hours. So
There's a few hours. I mean, what's 100 divided by 7? Off to the Goog? Am I going to go to Google for math?
Didn't they say 100-hour weekends?
No, because that doesn't make any sense. There's only 48 hours in a weekend.
It would not be weird for us to put a 100-hour weekend on a regular basis.
I mean, that's 14 hours a day, 7 days a week. There's time for sleep. So I'm a stickler about this because I work crazy hours too, and I'm not impressed is what I'm saying. What's up? You're looking at me funny.
I'm also concerned about you.
Oh, right. Well, thank you, but this is about Bob Lee right now, okay?
No ordinary victim.
Burned the candle at both ends, but was loving it, and his buddy Man Bun thought he could handle it. Did you like Man Bun?
No, I really could have sworn they said 100-hour weekends.
I mean, it sounds like Future Kurt's going to have to hop in here.
For us to put a 100-hour weekend.
Put a 100-hour weekend. 100-hour weekend.
But I don't know. I mean, that's nowhere near. You see where I'm coming from, right? That's 4 days.
Yeah, but a week, you were dividing it by 7, but a week is really 5.
No, not to tech bros and the Kurt Moneys of the world, okay? We're working 24/7. That's the math I'm doing here.
You're fueled by Monster Energy drink. They are fueled by cocaine.
I love that we can work while we're on cocaine.
Mom, money, she didn't mean that, okay? I'm sitting here drinking water right now, okay? I got in a lot of trouble recently, Kateline. So no more fun monster bits. I'm banning them.
We just don't want your heart to explode.
Me neither, man. But we're hearing about this party. Bo, Bob, and this guy named Jeremy, who was their drug dealer and was interviewed on Dateline.
Why would a drug dealer agree to go on television saying he's a drug dealer?
He never did, and JMANK was quick to point that out. He was arrested in 2022 for drug dealing, but he didn't want to talk about that. Well, no shit, JMANK.
This guy...
What'd you think of him?
He seemed like he was high during the interview.
He didn't want to be there.
He was running his sentences together really fast. He was kind of a mumbler. I had a hard time understanding him. He seemed like maybe he was on something. I don't know.
None of my business, really. Bottom line is, I didn't do it. There was no sexual assault at any point.
He brought his lawyer. They were doing some wide shots at the set, and there was a woman sitting in between them. So I just assumed that was like his rep to be like, don't say this or that. Because this dude's involved. His name will come up in the trial. Big time.
Then why go on Dateline?
Another great question. I mean, what if the world is the way that he's like, this will be great advertisement for San Francisco high rollers. Let me get my name out there so they know to hit me up.
Totally.
What if that's why you did it?
Totally.
Oh, okay. But there was a party that Kazar was at. This is the lady who wears her money and stuff.
She's pretty glamorous. I mean, in San Francisco, again, you have money, but you don't wear your money. And she wears her money.
There was a party. Jeremy's there. Bo's there. Bob's there. And Kazar admittedly takes a ton of different drugs. And then when Bo and Bob leave, she takes GHB, which is commonly known as a date rape drug. But she took it willingly. And she says that Jeremy slapped her ass and perhaps other stuff. I got to tread lightly here. Can you describe this part for me, Kate, so I don't have to?
Well, she was claiming a little bit of sexual assault.
Yeah.
She told jurors she was high on LSD, cocaine, and nitrous oxide. Jeremy gave her GHB, known as a date rape drug.
So she is texting her brother and telling her brother about this, Nima. And she's saying, Jeremy, this drug dealer, assaulted me. And so Nima's pissed. Now, something happened in their apartment because the very next morning, Bob got text from Kazar saying, hey, I'm so sorry that my brother came after you like that. Thanks for being a classy man with a lot of class. At like 8 a.m, but Bob never got those texts because he was already dead.
He was.
So we can only imagine what went on in that party.
And thank you for being such a classy man handling it with class.
But so now the cops are trying to put together a motive of like, okay, well, it sounds like Nima's pissed at Bob because he let Kazar get assaulted by his drug dealer.
Or he was defending Jeremy, being like, it didn't happen. We don't know.
Okay.
We have no idea what was said, but whatever went down, there was some kind of argument about what had happened to Kazar.
Yeah.
I found it interesting that she texted her brother about it and not her husband.
Yeah, good point.
Like, her husband wasn't involved in any of this.
I feel like she doesn't text him this because he'll be like, I told you not to do that stuff or whatever.
He'd be like, that's what you get when you party.
Yeah, bullshit like that.
Yeah.
That sounds like something this guy would say. Later, he won't even give his name to the cops, this guy.
And Dino refused to even provide his name to the officers searching the apartment.
It pays to be rich, huh? Cops have a search warrant for your place, and you can say there, I'm not even going to tell you my name. So Bob and Bo leave. Do they leave Kazar's or somewhere? Oh, I guess they do, right? No, they leave Jeremy's place, perhaps. But we see Bob and Bo on the elevator, and they're getting a little handsy and stuff. And even somebody here had to point out it wasn't sexual, and they were just buds.
Nothing sexual, just actual friendship.
And now the hard line here on Lester Holt is, hey, do what you do, dudes. If you guys also bone, I say bravo.
Listen, if you're having fun, if you're partying, if you're a little high and you want to get handsy, whatever.
I mean, it looked like Bo was trying to smooch him. They were like, goofing or something. But you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Bob did not seem receptive.
But he didn't seem angry.
No. But what shocked me was to find out that the guy who's like hopping around and trying to kiss Bob is the one who called it a night at midnight. Because they go to Bob's hotel room and Bob says, I'm not done partying. I'm going back out on the street. And so that's when he heads over to Kazar's in the Millennium Tower. Is it tower or hotel? Tower?
Both.
Okay. I'll just say the Millennium. Bob's like, that's it. I'm going to the Millennium. I'm headed to Kazar's. So that's where we see him leaving Kazar's with Nima on the elevator. And we see him walk through the lobby and it looks legit. Like it looks like, they're not fighting. They pick up their Beamer at the valet. Probably no wise decision.
And Bob gets in the car with him. Clearly, they're not fighting. They're hanging out.
Yeah. And so then the car leaves, and then the next time they're seen as little Bobs under the bridge on Main Street, potentially killing one another, right? I mean, something happens in the car, which we'll discuss later when a certain defense comes up, and a certain defense attorney, Kateline. Oh, this defense attorney. Okay. So the cops, they get search warrants for Kazar and her husband's place, and they search him, and what do you know? Oh, we forgot to mention, the knife that did the murder was a Joseph knife.
And the brand, Joseph.
Now, is there a cooking Kate or a chef Kate that we can call in? Because I didn't know what I was supposed to take by that. They said it like I was supposed to know. That means it was pricey.
I don't know a lot about kitchenware, knives and fancy stuff. I thought I did. But apparently I don't.
You agree, though, that JMANK said it like we were supposed to know something?
Yeah. He might party with Joseph, but...
I bet he does.
I party with IKEA.
So, Kazar does have Joseph knives. There's no telling if she had one missing, though. It's not like there was like a block of it with one of them not sticking out.
Well, it was just a paring knife. And typically paring knives aren't going to be in a fancy knife block. I mean, I don't know. I keep a paring knife just in the regular cutlery drawer.
Good point, because it's short enough to fit in there with the other regular knives. But the blade is 3.5 inches long. So even though someone later will say it's just a little baby knife, it's very much a knife that could kill somebody. We can agree on, right? I mean, 3.5 inches for a blade is pretty good sized.
Yes. People die in prison with even tinier handmade blades.
That's true. Okay, and Bo is the one that told the cops, you got to look at this Nima guy. And so that's when they're putting this all together, like maybe Nima did it. Oh, but then, okay, so they hear from Bo that Nima had a real problem with Bob over the Kazar assault stuff with Jeremy. And then they're going, all right, well, it's Nima's BMW. We're seeing that all over. We're seeing that BMW behind Bob as he was stabbed. He's like limping down the street, and there's the BMW tearing off. So it looks pretty cut and dry that the driver of this BMW was the driver of the knife into Bob's chest and hip. Right? And so the cops are like, it sounds like we got our guy, but let's get a little bit more meat on this. Let's go tail him for a little bit. And hey, if you guys want to press record sometimes, do it. And what happens when they see him talking to one of his dudes outside on the street? What do they record and we see play back for us 10 times?
They get a shot of Nima talking to his lawyer's private investigator.
Yeah. Okay.
Very confusing why he would be talking to his lawyer's PI. Why his lawyer had a PI for him.
Yeah.
Very strange.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's not that strange now that I'm thinking back on all the episodes of The Good Wife that I've seen. The lawyers.
Back to The Good Wife.
Their law firm, they have investigators on staff. So if they're ever... Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Okay.
I stand corrected. But I don't know why Nima would feel the urge to recount exactly how he stabbed Bob, which is what he was doing on camera. Yeah. We like see him talking to the PI, showing him how he stabbed him.
And then how he threw the knife. He even pantomimes throwing the knife over the fence, too. And look, they blur his lips, and they did that for the trial, too, because they didn't want the jury trying to guess what he was saying. But lip reading is a skill, okay? And even if it couldn't have been admitted to court, I feel like Dateline could have hired their own. I want to know what he was saying then, if only to describe what else could he be talking about, other than I stabbed him like this, and then I threw it like this.
I was actually very confused when I heard that the jury wasn't allowed to see his lips. Why? What's the point of the video then? Why would you be allowed to show this video as long as the mouth is blurred? That's the whole point of the video. Why can't they see and maybe infer what he's saying?
That's a great question. And they specifically say so they would not try and guess what they're saying. But why wouldn't? We're trying to guess what he's miming.
Why can't they guess what he's saying? Yeah, they're trying to guess what he's miming. They're trying to figure out. They're trying to guess if he murdered someone. That's what a trial is.
Yeah, you're right. You know what? That's a great point. It sounds like it. Like let him.
Mm-hmm.
The court required Nima's mouth to be blurred, so the jury couldn't try to make out the conversation.
I don't know why he was talking about it outside like that, but I don't know what else he'd be talking about. His lawyer loved to point out, I'll tell you what he's not doing.
I'll tell you what's not happening.
in that video, is that he's not pantomiming anything.
Let's get to the trial. This episode was also trial heavy because Kazar had to get on the stand, and you could tell it. Her in her Valentino and her sunglasses and stuff.
She's dressed in all Valentino and wears these big sunglasses.
But this trial happens. Nima, charged with murder of Bob Lee. And here's what's funny. He has a lawyer who flies in from Miami.
Yeah.
That's where Bob lived. That's kind of crazy.
It's interesting. Mm-hmm.
Now, this lawyer's a real piece of shit. Kate, can we agree?
You know, he's a typical high-powered defense attorney.
He seemed... Now, this doesn't make me sound judgy because, again, my stance is do drugs, do anything you want. But he seemed like he was familiar with the coke life. He was saying right a bunch. Okay? Right? Ah! Oh, now I'm doing it.
Yeah. He was a little high energy.
He says my man at one point, which we'll get into.
My man.
This is where they had a tease of him at the beginning of the episode. And my defenses are up because we're already talking about this guy like he's more than just a dead guy. And in one of the commercials, they call him Victim Plus.
There's powers that are not normally in play when the decedent is the kind of person that Bob Lee is. Not a regular victim. We call it Victim Plus.
This is when I lost my mind, Kate.
Yes. This was terrible.
Now, thankfully, it was the guy's defense attorney who was saying that. We didn't know who that person was at that point. I was like, if that's a cop, I swear I'm going to lose it. Like, I found my new thing I'm going to bitch about. Forget peacock sucking. I'm going to be looking for this guy. Cops talking about Victim Plus, because we already have terms for people that they don't think are as dead. Like, the less dead. Like, there are already terms for when poor people die. Like, and what is it? With all this innovation and disrupting that the tech bros do, why can't we come up with one other word than plus for everything? I couldn't believe it. He even said Victim Plus era. Ew, don't bring Taylor Swift into this.
When you have someone who's in that Victim Plus era...
That's Bob Lee.
That's Bob Lee. He's Victim Plus squared.
Now, Kurt.
This guy sucked.
T. Swift did not invent the era.
Okay, but... try and say she's not responsible for where it is today. I mean, try and say that, Kate, in the face of a 2-year tour that blew up the world. Try and say it. I dare you.
I will try and say it, because when she's not on your mind, that's not... As someone who does not think about Taylor Swift, basically ever, that word does not make me think of her.
Well, that's funny, because even there, I mean, it was said on, like, not just by people who like Taylor Swift, but the idea of what's your era. You could say 1989 era, Reputation era. It was very much related directly to T. Swift and her tour. And people who were non-Swifties, because the bracelets, you admit the bracelets thing blew up because of Taylor Swift, right?
I don't know, Kurt. I'm not a Swiftie. I have no idea. To me, an era is... She didn't invent that, and it didn't blow up because of her. Yeah.
Wrong.
On social media, I guess, sure. But he's not talking about that.
I don't understand how I'm supposed to argue this point with you when you say, hey, I'm not a Swiftie, but that's not why it happened. I mean, what can I say to that? I can't say anything.
Because you're saying he's a Swiftie.
No, I'm not. I'm saying that calling things an era has permeated the zeitgeist in the past 3 years because of the Taylor Swift Eras tour. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
That's a fact. There we go.
That's, okay, that is not how you were saying it.
Bullshit. Hey, you think I was saying that guy was a Swiftie? I don't want him to be a Swiftie, TBH.
Sure was damp today.
Okay, looks like we can move on, but here's the bad news, Kate. Taylor's coming up again later. I don't know if you saw a little hand motion that Nima's mom did. We'll bring it up later. We'll cool down. We'll talk about just murder or something here. A lot of this, we're going back and forth between the defense attorney and the prosecutor. Let's talk about this footage. The prosecutor, I thought, had a great attitude about it, that it's terrible. Mm-hmm. It could not... Now, Kate, did you think this prosecutor was cute? Because he looked like somebody we know.
He looked like somebody we know?
Somebody that you have declared love for, and I lost my goddamn mind about. What's his name? Remember?
Gru?
No! The dude who looks like the guy in Island of Dr. Moreau. What's his name? Remember from down the basement stairs?
Verdad.
Verdad, that's it! Verdati! You didn't have Verdati vibes for you?
No.
I thought like he was tiny and had like a really round head and stuff. Okay.
No, I wasn't vibing with him. But I appreciate you looking out.
Of course, always. I've always got an eye for potential Verdads out there, because it just floored me so much. It's like changed me as a person.
But there was someone else in this that I was really feeling.
Not Murdad. Don't tell me Murdad.
Yeah.
You've got to be.
Oh yeah. Kurt, let me tell you about it.
Okay, now the footage. The defense attorney is saying that this is what was so funny to me about the defense attorney. He's going, the prosecution is taking this footage and they're blowing it up and they're resizing it and they're changing the lighting. They're doing all this stuff. Smoke and mirrors, my man. Smoke and mirrors. He says that to JMANK.
To make something that occurred look different than what actually occurred. Right? Smoke and mirrors, my man. Smoke and mirrors.
Now, that's a hilarious stance to offer when it's his team that pays for a digital recreation of the footage. That's smoke and mirrors, my man.
He swung, right? Which is what our animation shows, that it was a swinging motion.
This is a straight up cartoon recreation of what the defense says happened that night.
Yeah. And what is it?
He said it was self-defense.
He's been chomping at the bit, man, for so long to be able to tell his story.
I could not believe they were coming at us with self-defense. I thought they were going to argue you don't know that it's him. But no, Nima takes full responsibility, I guess.
Right. So they're saying that they were driving to a strip club together, and then something happened in the car where...
Spilled a beer, but they were not carrying beers when they got in the car, so that's weird.
That's weird. So they spilled beer, and then they had to pull over to kind of clean it up, and while they were cleaning it up, Bob found whippets and did some more, and then did another bump of coke, and then they kind of got into it, and things escalated, and Bob pulled out a knife from his pocket that he was using to do the coke with and took some swings at Nima, and in self-defense, Nima had to block it, and that made Bob stab himself multiple times.
Yeah.
And then because he was scared that Bob was going to hurt him or himself, he grabbed the knife and threw it over the fence, not knowing that the knife had actually stabbed Bob multiple times. And then he sees Bob walk off into the night, and that's it.
And then Nima just drives off because he thinks, well, Bob's going to go back to his hotel room. Now, this knife throw, Kate, the fence that they're throwing it over, you could almost squeeze through it. Like, I know it doesn't matter, and it wouldn't matter if they threw it further, but even in the animation, tosses it over the fence and it lands a foot away from them, where you could reach through the bars of this fence and just get that knife again.
Yes.
That looked funny as hell. And we had some great DNA facts, and here they are. 99% of the DNA on the handle belonged to Nima. 1% of the DNA that was there was on the blade, and that belonged to Bob. Ooh, baby.
Yeah.
This don't sound good for Nima.
No, it makes no sense.
No. I mean, Nima says that he said a bad joke to Bob about how, why are you out here partying and you're not with your family? Now, I'll say this about Bob Lee and the Lee crew. They definitely are all good with each other. They've got a system that works for them, and they're very happy with everybody in the group. I don't think he would be offended by that. I think he would laugh and say, like, you don't know what you're talking about, dude.
Okay, so... yes, we've learned that Bob was a very involved dad. It wasn't like he was just a party guy who never made time for them. Also, it's 2 a.m. Why would he be with his family? They're asleep.
They're sleeping. And it was like during the week, like, because they had to go to school the next morning.
And he had just been to his daughter's play. So there's no way he would have... The defense is also using this to try to paint Bob in a bad light.
Oh, yeah.
Trying to infer that he's a junkie and that he would rather be out in all hours of the night with strangers than spending time with his kids. And I'm saying his kids are asleep. I mean, you can't be with your kids at 2 a.m.
Yeah, is he supposed to be home with his ex-wife?
Why would he be at his ex-wife's
Nima?
house?
Yeah, what's your point here, dude? Good call.
Nima said he made a joke. A bad one, he admitted.
Other nonsense the defense attorney says. And I'm getting fired up over here, but even JMANK jumps on him a little bit. I thought JMANK was great with him because the defense attorney's like, he says all sorts of nonsense. One, they're buddy-buddy when they get off the elevator. And JMANK's like, well, what if he was concealing his anger until he wasn't around a lobby and then he stabbed them? And then the defense attorney goes, it was just a little baby knife. If you're going to kill somebody, you get a bigger blade.
The blade's this big. It's a little paring knife.
Okay, but you can be killed with a blade that big.
And JMANK didn't say this, or they cut it out, but I bet he said, well, something tells me a pear slicing knife is easier to conceal than a butcher knife, dudes.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, these all answer themselves. In my opinion.
They do. And then the defense attorney tried to say that Nima would never do this because he knew that they were walking in public places where they're on camera, and even where he stabbed him was... The defense attorney liked to say that the area where he was stabbed was super busy, and it was called Main Street, for God's sake.
He thought that was a slam dunk, didn't he?
The prosecution's like, oh, it's under a bridge. Bro, it's on a place called Main Street. It is a busy street.
I Googled it. It's maybe called Main Street, but it's like a desolate street under the bridge. And on Google, it's broad daylight and it's desolate. There's no one there.
That's a great point. And I think Dateline was making that point too, because when he says it's a main street, it's like called Main Street, they show B-roll from the daytime. And there's like 2 people on it, possibly. So like, he loved that thing. He thought that was like, that's it. I don't have to say anything else. But wrong.
No, there was no one there. Wrong. It was.
And he goes, that's my opinion, respectfully.
I don't think it's as cut as dry and you guys are making it out to seem at all. I don't. Respectfully.
JMANK comes back at him and says, well, respectfully, I think you're a dumb shit. He doesn't say that, but he basically does.
Basically.
Respectfully, to me, those are the actions of someone who knows that they did something wrong and is trying to avoid responsibility.
Real quick, they show footage of course, Kazar when she's coming into trial. Do you think, was she allowed to wear sunglasses on the stand? We weren't allowed to look in. There were no cameras.
No.
She had to take them off?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you like her look? Were you impressed by how rich she was and how she wore her money, Kate?
No.
Yeah, me neither. But the mom, when she goes into trial, she did this to the cam. Now, Holtheads, I'm holding up a heart sign. Kate, I dare you to come at me and say that Taylor Swift did not make this famous. Not invented it, but this is associated with Taylor Swift as well.
I have to disagree, Kurt.
Well, you're wrong. You're, unfortunately, just like the last time, you're incorrect.
There's a whole thing online about how millennials do this, but Gen Z does this. And it's like a debate about how to do the heart sign. To me, that's more of what I think of.
Okay. Well, in this case, I'm roasting the mom. I don't think she did it because of Taylor. It is associated with Taylor Swift. But I will die on the hill about me being right about saying era thing. I'll go ahead and concede defeat on this one. But the era thing, that's got to be K-Money 1, Kateline 0.
That's me yawning. It's me yawning.
She's shaking her head emphatically saying, yeah, you're totally right, dude.
No, I'm yawning because I'm bored by it.
Okay. Well, were you bored when the defense attorney tried to say that Bob was doing coke off the murder knife? This was also eye-roll worthy. We see footage of him and his buddy outside a bar. Did that thing look like a knife to you at all?
No, it looked like his pinky. You don't need a knife to do coke. You just reach into your baggie, and that's what a coke nail is for.
Okay, great point. I was thinking, it's a key. People do it with their key.
Yeah, key bump, of course.
All the time. So, like, and he was so stupid. It clearly wasn't the knife because of how long it was. Like, why would this guy bust a knife out when he's already trying to do something inconspicuously? Like, he's already trying to not draw attention to himself. You think he's going to take a knife out and go, I don't think so. But dude tried to play this up in court, right? He was like, that's the knife!
Yeah.
The defense attorney, Sam Zangane, says, look, that's the knife. Very dramatic.
And the jury wasn't having it.
No, but they do take 6 days of deliberation. This was wild too, because on the 6th day, they say they have a verdict, but the judge is like, all right, we'll do it tomorrow. No, let's stay late, judge. Let's stay late today and do it, right?
Yeah.
Jurors sent word. They had reached a decision, but it was late in the day. Everyone would have to return the next morning.
I mean, if it's like past 5 p.m., they can't, because the verdict reading proceedings could take a longer time and then they go too late. I don't know.
Yeah, you're probably right. But that sucked, and people were talking about how they couldn't sleep, and the brother threw up and stuff.
Honestly, I threw up a couple times that morning.
Well, they come back. He's not guilty on first-degree murder. Where's your head at when that happened, Kate? Were you like, what the F are you talking about?
You know, I could see the argument. I think even the prosecution said that they knew it might be tough to prove because there's enough doubt. And I think that's what the jury felt too. But he did get second degree.
The verdict for second-degree murder? Guilty.
And we do not know the sentence, but it'll be between 16 years and life, which means he'll probably do like 7 or 8.
Yes.
But the mom, it's a miscarriage of justice. They're pissed. The defense attorney, he's like, oh, I'm so mad. But I took it in. Everything's good. Nima on the stand didn't do so well. He lost his cool. I love that too.
I think it's clear who has the anger issue, Nima or Bob.
Yeah, that's a great point. Because every time we see Bob when he's supposed to be coked out of his mind, He's just on chill on his phone while his buddy's like bouncing around.
Mhm.
Like, this doesn't seem like a guy who's so pissed that he stole a knife from someone's house. Anyway.
Imagine the motivation here. Your sister mentions that she may have been assaulted. You get so mad at the fact that that happened that you kill someone who was only tangentially involved.
Right. I mean, that's why he did it, right? I mean, because you don't doubt that he stabbed him. He brought the knife from Kazar's, right?
I don't doubt it at all. I think he just has some weird anger problems and also a weird relationship with his sister.
Yeah, they talked about how close they were. It wasn't quite Santee and Kenny close. They weren't holding hands for 60 minutes or anything.
No.
But
what was going on here exactly?
Also, I hope that Nima, when he's out on bail or bond or whatever before sentencing, I hope he watches this Dateline and really lets it sink in when they talk about how they weren't in the same league tech-wise.
Yeah. I mean, if you could say tech is the same business, they're in the same business. I don't think they're in any way kind of on the same level. Yeah.
Well, how funny was that, right?
Yeah, although, to me, Nemo was very successful. He had a really nice car. He had a great apartment. It was in the East Bay, but it was still... Nothing's cheap up there.
He had 2 boats, and he was looking at a house somewhere else. So, I mean, he also had money.
By all accounts, he was very successful, but he wasn't, billionaire successful.
No, but he's not wealthy enough because Kazar, even though Kazar funded his defense, okay, and she was forced to testify against her will, the defense attorney who got paid by Kazar is going, you can't believe a word she says because she's an addict.
You believe anything comes out of Kazar's mouth?
No, I don't. And let me tell you why. Because she's an addict.
The drug dealer guy, he didn't handle that part well either. But he was saying that Kazar called him after she testified and said, I'm sorry I lied on the stand. Do you believe that?
I do.
Me too. I do. Just because Jeremy didn't want to be there at all. He hated every minute of it.
No, I think now I realize that before I asked why did he even agree to be on Dateline, I think it's because he doesn't want people to think that he's going around sexually assaulting people.
Good point.
Because he didn't. And
yeah.
Kazar must have said that happened, and then Nima lost his mind. I don't know. Things get really fuzzy when everyone's high.
Good point. And I've been hearing this a lot when it comes to somebody who's famous falling off a wagon or something. Is Kazar's representative said that she completed a rehab program.
Kazar said she had sought help for her substance abuse problems and completed a rehab program.
I love this world of the rich and famous where if you complete a program and get a certificate, you're not an addict anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And everything's good to go. What a delight.
It reminds me of the commercial for that rehab facility in Malibu where the guy who founded it is in the commercial and he's saying, I used to be an addict. Now I'm not. Bro, that's not how it works. The whole thing is once an addict, always an addict. It's a daily reminder to be fighting that all the time.
I should know. I was an addict for 10 years. Now I'm not.
To be so flippant about it, no, come to this Malibu facility and then you'll be fine again and then you can just go on with your life. It's not going to be a battle forever.
Dumb as hell. All right, well, let's go to those lists. Kateline, what you got?
Kate's unnamed list. Well, we've got a car. We've got this white BMW. We've got...
coupe or something.
We've got a Florida connection. 2 of them. Defense attorney. And Bob was living there in Miami.
Straight up.
And Nima and Kazar's mother... She stopped in the middle of the interview, cried, and said, I'm sorry.
I became like a dead person walking. I'm sorry.
And JMANK even offered, hey, should we take a minute?
Yeah.
You want to stop a second?
I mean, this was that on your list.
This is it. I hadn't seen this in so long. I loved it.
It was great. God, it was so good, too. And I was watching it going, is this it? Oh, it is. I've got to write this down. Oh, Kate. I hope Kate caught it. On to Kurt's Kick-Ass List.
Kick-Ass List.
JMANK says, when the defense attorney thought he was dropping the mic when he said, look at that, he's doing coke off the knife, JMANK was like, we've all seen TV law shows. He said it weird, but he talked about TV law shows, and so that's on my list.
Okay.
This is not some TV legal show. You knew this was coming.
And that's it, actually.
Oh.
Well, on that note, I'm Kurt Money.
I'm Kateline.
I'm Lester Holt. For all of us, I'm Lester Holt. Good night.
What's a whippet?